Hello there, my fellow pigeon enthusiasts. Welcome back to our channel, and if you're new here, well, you've just found yourself a home among people who truly understand the magic of these incredible birds. I'm so excited to share today's topic with you because it's something that's been close to my heart for over 30 years of breeding and racing pigeons. We're going to talk about something that can make or break your entire loft, building that rock-solid immunity in your birds that separates the champions from the also-rans. I remember when I first started in this beautiful sport, I was so focused on bloodlines and training methods that I almost missed the most fundamental aspect of pigeon keeping. I learned the hard way that all the best genetics in the world won't help you if your birds don't have the natural strength to fight off disease and handle the stresses of competition. That lesson came during my third year of keeping pigeons when I lost nearly half my young bird team to a respiratory infection that swept through the loft like wildfire. It was heartbreaking, and it changed everything about how I approached pigeon care. That experience taught me that building immunity isn't just about preventing disease, it's about creating an environment where your pigeons can thrive, where their natural defenses are so strong that they can handle whatever challenges come their way. It's about understanding that every single thing we do in our daily routine either strengthens or weakens our birds' ability to stay healthy and perform at their peak. Think about it this way. When you watch a champion racer come home from a tough 500-mile race, what do you see? You see a bird that's not just fast but resilient. A bird whose body has the strength to push through fatigue, whose immune system can handle the stress of competition, whose entire being radiates health and vitality. That kind of strength doesn't happen by accident. It's built day by day through countless small decisions that either support or undermine your bird's natural defenses. The truth is, immunity in pigeons works much like it does in us humans. When we're stressed, run down, poorly fed, or living in unhealthy conditions, we get sick more often and recover more slowly. But when we take care of ourselves, eating well, getting fresh air, managing stress, staying active, our bodies become incredibly resilient. Our pigeons are exactly the same way, except they depend entirely on us to create those conditions for them. I've seen so many fanciers over the years who get caught up in the latest miracle cure or the newest supplement that promises to solve all their health problems. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for targeted treatments when birds are actually sick. But what I've learned is that the real magic happens in the everyday routines, the simple practices that keep your birds so healthy they rarely need those emergency interventions. Let me paint you a picture of what a truly healthy loft looks like. You walk in on any given morning, and the first thing that hits you is the air. It's fresh, clean, with just that pleasant, earthy smell that tells you everything is in balance. The birds are alert and active, their eyes bright and clear, their plumage tight and gleaming. When you call to them, they respond with enthusiasm, not because they're stressed or anxious, but because they associate your presence with good things happening in their world. These birds eat with gusto, their droppings are firm and well-formed, and when you handle them, their muscles feel solid, and their breathing is steady and calm. During training season, they trap eagerly when they return from exercise, and during breeding season, they tend their eggs and babies with the kind of focused attention that only comes from birds who feel completely secure in their environment. This is what we're working toward, and it all starts with understanding that immunity isn't just about fighting off germs. It's about creating a state of vibrant health where your birds' bodies can handle whatever life throws at them. And the beautiful thing is, most of what we need to do is surprisingly simple. It's just about being consistent and paying attention to the details that matter. So where do we start? Well, everything begins with the foundation of good health, and for pigeons, that foundation is clean, fresh air. I cannot overstate how critical this is. Pigeons have incredibly efficient respiratory systems. They need them for flight, but that same efficiency means they're also more vulnerable to airborne pathogens and poor air quality. Your birds need constant access to fresh air that's free from ammonia buildup, dust, and stagnant moisture. I learned this lesson during my early years when I thought keeping the loft warm and closed up during winter was protecting my birds. What I was actually doing was creating a perfect breeding ground for respiratory problems. The air became thick with moisture from their breathing and droppings, and despite my best cleaning efforts, that stagnant environment was weakening their natural defenses every single day. Now, my loft design prioritizes ventilation above almost everything else. I have openings positioned to create a gentle, constant airflow that carries away moisture and ammonia without creating drafts that could chill the birds. Even in the coldest weather, I'd rather have my birds dealing with cool, fresh air than warm, stale air. They're incredibly hardy creatures when they're healthy, and that fresh air is like medicine for their respiratory systems. But ventilation alone isn't enough if we're not managing what goes into that air in the first place. This brings us to one of the most fundamental daily practices that either supports or undermines immunity, keeping the loft clean. Now, I don't mean obsessively sterile clean, because a completely sterile environment actually weakens immunity by preventing birds from building natural resistance. What I mean is consistently removing the waste and moisture that can create unhealthy conditions. Every single morning before I do anything else with my birds, I spend 15 minutes removing droppings from perches and nest boxes, refreshing water containers, and checking that feed areas are clean. This isn't just about appearance. Though I'll admit I take pride in a tidy loft, it's about preventing the buildup of bacteria and moisture that can overwhelm even strong immune systems. I've found that the birds respond to this routine almost as much as I do. They seem to sense when their environment is well maintained, and it shows in their behavior. They're calmer, more content, and they spend their energy on positive activities like preening and socializing instead of dealing with environmental stressors that we might not even notice, but that their sensitive systems pick up immediately. Water quality is another area where small daily attentions make enormous differences in overall health. I change water every single day, not just because it gets dirty, but because fresh water tastes better and encourages the birds to drink more. Proper hydration is absolutely essential for immune function. It helps their bodies flush out toxins, maintains healthy mucous membranes that are their first line of defense against pathogens, and supports every cellular process that keeps them strong. But here's something many fanciers don't realize. The type of water container you use can be just as important as how often you change the water. I use containers that are easy to clean thoroughly and positioned where birds can't contaminate them with droppings or feed. I've seen lofts where the water was changed daily but serve in containers with biofilm buildup or in locations where contamination was inevitable, and those birds always seem to have more health challenges than they should have. During certain times of the year, especially during molting or breeding season when their systems are under extra stress, I add natural supplements to their water that support immune function. Apple cider vinegar is one of my favorites, just a tablespoon per gallon of water, a couple of times a week. It helps maintain healthy gut pH, which is crucial because so much of immune function actually happens in the digestive system. The beneficial bacteria in their intestines are like tiny soldiers fighting off harmful organisms before they can establish infections. Garlic is another wonderful natural immune supporter that I use regularly. I crush fresh garlic cloves and let them steep in water for a few hours before serving it to the birds. Garlic has natural antimicrobial properties, but more importantly, it seems to stimulate their overall immune response. I notice that during periods when I'm consistent with garlic water, my birds just seem more vibrant and resilient. The feeding program is where we can really make a difference in building long-term immunity. It's not just about providing enough calories or even the right balance of proteins and carbohydrates, though those things matter enormously. It's about providing the micronutrients and natural compounds that support immune function while avoiding anything that might suppress it. I feed a varied mix of grains, but I pay special attention to including seeds that provide natural immune support. Safflower seeds are rich in vitamin E, which is a powerful antioxidant that helps protect cells from damage. Sunflower seeds provide selenium and other trace minerals that are essential for immune function. I include small amounts of flax seeds for their omega-3 fatty acids, which help control inflammation and support overall health. But beyond the basic mix, I regularly offer what I call immune-supporting treats. Fresh herbs from my garden, oregano, thyme, basil, are all natural antimicrobials that the birds seem to seek out instinctively. I scatter these fresh herbs in their loft a couple of times a week, and it's fascinating to watch how different birds are drawn to different herbs, almost as if they know what their bodies need. Dandelion leaves are another favorite. They're rich in vitamins and have natural detoxifying properties. I pick them fresh from areas I know haven't been treated with chemicals, and the birds absolutely love them. It's like watching children get excited about candy, except this candy is actually making them healthier with every bite. During molting season, when their bodies are under the enormous stress of replacing every single feather, I increase the protein content of their diet, but I also add natural supplements that support the process. Brewer's yeast is wonderful for this. It's rich in B vitamins that support feather development and overall metabolism. I sprinkle it over their feed a few times a week, and I swear it makes a difference in how quickly and completely they molt. One thing I've learned over the years is that how you feed can be just as important as what you feed. I use feeding methods that encourage natural behaviors and reduce stress. Instead of just dumping feed in hoppers and walking away, I scatter some of their daily ration on clean surfaces where they have to forage for it. This mimics their natural feeding behavior and provides mental stimulation that reduces stress-related immune suppression. I also feed smaller amounts more frequently rather than giving them access to unlimited feed all day. This keeps their digestive systems active and healthy while preventing the sluggishness that comes from overeating. A bird that's maintaining optimal body weight is going to have a much stronger immune system than one that's carrying excess fat, or on the other end, one that's undernourished. The timing of feeding matters too. I establish regular feeding times that become part of their daily rhythm. Pigeons are creatures of habit, and when they know what to expect and when to expect it, their stress levels stay low. Chronic stress is one of the biggest immune suppressors there is, so anything we can do to minimize unpredictable stressors helps build their natural resistance. Speaking of stress, this is probably one of the most overlooked factors in pigeon health. We focus so much on nutrition and cleanliness, and those things are absolutely crucial, but we sometimes forget that emotional and psychological stress can be just as damaging to immune function as poor feed or dirty water. Pigeons are intelligent, social creatures with complex emotional lives, and their physical health is intimately connected to their mental and emotional well-being. I've seen birds that had perfect nutrition and pristine living conditions, but were constantly getting sick because they were chronically stressed. Sometimes it was overcrowding, too many birds in too small space, leading to constant social tension. Sometimes it was inconsistent routines or unpredictable environments that kept them in a state of constant alertness. Sometimes it was separation from mates or disruption of established social hierarchies. Learning to recognize and minimize stress has been one of the most important skills I've developed as a pigeon keeper. I watch for subtle signs, birds that sit hunched instead of standing tall, birds that eat frantically or not all, birds that seem withdrawn from a flock, or conversely, ones that seem agitated and unable to settle. These behaviors often precede illness by days or weeks, and addressing the underlying stress can prevent health problems from developing. One of the biggest stress reducers in my loft is simply spending time with the birds in a calm, peaceful way. Not rushing in to clean or feed or train, but just being present with them. I'll sit quietly in the loft for 10 or 15 minutes, just watching them go about their daily activities. This serves two purposes. It helps me notice subtle changes in behavior or health that I might miss during busy work sessions, and it helps the birds associate my presence with calm, pleasant experiences. I talk to them during these quiet times, using the same gentle tone I'd use with a good friend. I know it might sound silly to some people, but I'm convinced that birds respond to the emotional quality of our voices, just like they respond to our physical actions. When I'm stressed or hurried, they sense it immediately, and their behavior reflects that tension. When I'm calm and present, they relax too, and that relaxation is like medicine for their immune systems. The social environment within the loft plays a huge role in stress levels and, consequently, immune function. I pay close attention to flock dynamics and make adjustments when I notice bullying or excessive competition for resources. Sometimes this means rearranging perches or nest boxes to reduce territorial disputes. Sometimes it means providing multiple feeding and watering stations so that dominant birds can't monopolize resources. Sometimes it means removing a particularly aggressive bird that's disrupting the peace of the entire loft. I've learned that a harmonious loft is a healthy loft. When birds feel secure in their social environment, when they have access to the resources they need without having to fight for them, when they can engage in natural behaviors like preening and socializing without constant interruption, their immune systems function at peak efficiency. Breeding season presents special challenges for maintaining immunity because the stress of reproduction naturally suppresses immune function to some degree. This is why I'm extra vigilant about all aspects of health management during breeding season. I increase the frequency of loft cleaning, provide additional nutritional support, and monitor individual birds more closely for any signs of health challenges. I also try to minimize additional stressors during breeding season. I avoid major changes to the loft layout or routines. I'm more gentle in my handling of the birds. I make sure that pairs have adequate privacy and aren't disturbed unnecessarily during their breeding cycles. The goal is to support their natural reproductive processes while giving their immune systems every possible advantage. Molting season is another time when immune support becomes absolutely critical. The process of replacing every feather on their body is enormously taxing, and birds are naturally more vulnerable to illness during this time. I adjust feeding programs to provide extra protein and support nutrients. I'm even more careful about maintaining optimal air quality and cleanliness. And I reduce training and handling to absolute minimums so that all their energy can go toward the molting process and maintaining their health. One of the most powerful immune-supporting practices I've discovered is the use of medicinal herbs, but not in the way most people think. Instead of using herbs as treatments for illness, I use them proactively as part of the regular health maintenance routine. It's like the difference between taking vitamin C when you feel a cold coming on versus taking it every day to support your overall immune function. Oregano is one of my favorite herbs for this purpose. It has powerful antimicrobial properties, but more importantly, it seems to support the bird's natural ability to resist infections. I grow oregano in my garden specifically for the pigeons, and I harvest it fresh throughout the growing season. Sometimes I add it to their water, sometimes I hang fresh bunches in the loft where they can nibble on it as they choose, and sometimes I dry it and sprinkle it over their feed. Thyme is another wonderful immune-supporting herb. It's particularly good for respiratory health, which is so important for pigeons. Like oregano, I offer it fresh when possible, but I also make thyme tea, steeping dried thyme in hot water, then cooling it and adding it to their drinking water. The birds seem to appreciate the variety, and I notice that during periods when I'm consistent with herbal additions to their water, they just seem more robust and resilient. Echinacea is an herb that many people know for its immune-supporting properties in humans, and it works similarly well for pigeons. I use it more strategically than the daily herbs, usually during times of extra stress like molting, breeding, or training season, or when I notice that birds seem a bit off their usual vitality. I make echinacea tea the same way I make thyme tea, and offer it as their drinking water for a few days at a time. The key with herbal immune support is consistency and observation. I don't just randomly add herbs to their routine. I pay attention to how the birds respond, I notice patterns in their health and behavior, and I adjust my herbal program based on what I see working. Some herbs that work wonderfully for one loft might not be as effective for another, depending on the specific challenges and stressors in that environment. I also rotate different herbs rather than using the same ones all the time. This prevents the birds from developing tolerance to any particular herb, and it ensures they're getting a variety of beneficial compounds that support different aspects of immune function. Nature provides an incredible pharmacy of immune-supporting plants, and I try to take advantage of that diversity. Beyond herbs, there are other natural supplements that can provide significant immune support. Probiotics are absolutely crucial for maintaining healthy gut bacteria, which is the foundation of immune function. I use probiotic supplements designed specifically for birds, adding them to feed or water according to the manufacturer's directions. But I also provide natural sources of beneficial bacteria through fermented foods. I make my own sprouted grain mixtures, allowing seeds to germinate just until they show tiny green shoots. This sprouting process not only increases the nutritional value of the seeds, but also promotes the growth of beneficial bacteria that support digestive health. The birds absolutely love sprouted grains, and I can see the difference in their energy and vitality when I'm consistent with providing them. Apple cider vinegar, as I mentioned earlier, is another wonderful natural immune supporter. But it's important to use it correctly. Too much can upset their digestive balance, and too little won't provide any benefit. I use about 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, offered 2 or 3 times per week. I make sure to use raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar that contains the mother, those cloudy strands that contain beneficial bacteria and enzymes. Honey is another natural immune booster that I use occasionally, especially during times of stress or recovery from illness. Raw, unprocessed honey has antimicrobial properties and provides easily digestible energy that can help support birds through challenging times. I add just a small amount to their water, maybe a teaspoon per gallon, and I'm careful not to overdo it because too much sugar can actually suppress immune function. The seasonal approach to immune support has become one of the most important aspects of my management program. Just as we humans need different types of support during different seasons, more vitamin D in winter, more hydration in summer, pigeons have seasonal immune needs that change throughout the year. During spring, when breeding season is starting and daylight hours are increasing, I focus on supporting their reproductive systems while maintaining immune function. This is when I increase protein levels in their diet, add extra vitamins and minerals that support egg production and fertility, and make sure they have access to plenty of fresh herbs and sprouted grains. Summer brings different challenges: heat stress, increased training demands for racing birds, and the constant pressure of maintaining condition during the most active time of year. My summer immune support program emphasizes hydration, electrolyte balance, and cooling herbs like mint and lemon balm. I also pay extra attention to ventilation and shade to prevent heat stress, which can quickly suppress immune function. Fall is molting time for most birds, and this is when I provide the most intensive immune support of the year. The energy demands of replacing every feather on their body are enormous, and their natural resistance to illness is at its lowest point. I increase protein levels significantly, add extra B vitamins and minerals that support feather development, and monitor each bird carefully for any signs of health challenges. Winter requires a different approach, supporting their ability to maintain body temperature while conserving energy for immune function. I increase the fat content of their diet slightly to provide extra calories for warmth, but I'm careful not to let them become overweight. I continue with immune-supporting herbs and supplements, but I adjust the types and amounts based on their reduced activity levels. Throughout all seasons, I maintain detailed records of what I'm doing and how the birds respond. This might seem obsessive to some people, but it's been invaluable for fine-tuning my management program. I keep track of which supplements seem to work best at different times of year, which birds respond well to particular approaches, and which combinations of management practices produce the best results. These records have helped me identify patterns that I never would have noticed otherwise. For example, I discovered that birds housed in certain sections of my loft were more prone to respiratory issues during humid weather, leading me to adjust ventilation in those areas. I noticed that certain bloodlines seemed to benefit more from particular herbs than others, allowing me to customize my approach for different groups of birds. The records also help me communicate more effectively with my veterinarian when health issues do arise. Instead of just saying, "the birds seem off," I can provide specific information about changes in behavior, appetite, or droppings that help identify problems quickly and accurately. But beyond all the technical aspects of immune support, the supplements and herbs and management practices, there's something else that I believe makes a huge difference in the health and resilience of my birds. It's the emotional connection, the bond of trust and care that develops between a dedicated fancier and their birds. Pigeons are incredibly perceptive creatures. They sense our moods, our energy levels, our intentions. When we approach our birds with genuine care and attention, when we take time to really observe and connect with them as individuals, they respond with trust and relaxation that supports their immune function in ways that no supplement can match. I've noticed that birds who have strong relationships with their caretakers seem to be more resilient, more willing to eat and drink normally during times of stress, more likely to show early signs of illness when they need help. It's as if the emotional security they feel translates directly into physical health and resilience. This is why I encourage every pigeon fancier to spend quiet time with their birds, not just working time, but relationship-building time. Learn to recognize each bird as an individual. Notice their personalities, their preferences, their unique behaviors. The more you understand your birds as individuals, the better you'll be able to provide the specific type of care and support that each one needs. I have birds in my loft who have been with me for over a decade, and our relationship has deepened and evolved over the years. I know which ones prefer certain perches, which ones are bold and outgoing, which ones are more cautious and sensitive. This knowledge helps me manage them in ways that minimize stress and maximize their natural health and vitality. When I walk into my loft each morning, it's not just a chore or a responsibility, it's a reunion with old friends. The birds know me, trust me, and look forward to our daily interactions. This positive emotional environment supports their immune systems just as surely as clean water and nutritious feed do. The integration of all these elements, clean air, proper nutrition, stress reduction, natural supplements, seasonal adjustments, careful observation, and emotional connection, creates what I think of as a web of health that supports strong immunity from every angle. No single element is sufficient by itself, but when they all work together, the result is birds who are not just free from disease, but radiantly healthy and resilient. This holistic approach to immune support has transformed my loft over the years. I rarely see the kinds of health problems that used to worry me constantly. My birds maintain their condition better throughout the racing season. They recover more quickly from the stresses of competition. They breed more successfully and raise healthier young birds. Most importantly, they seem happier and more content in their daily lives. The beautiful thing about natural immune support is that it's not just about preventing problems, it's about creating conditions where your birds can express their full potential. When their immune systems are strong and their overall health is optimal, everything else becomes easier. Training goes more smoothly because they have the energy and vitality to respond well to exercise. Breeding is more successful because healthy birds make better parents. Racing performance improves because they have the physical and mental resilience to handle competition stress. I want to encourage every one of you watching this video to start implementing some of these practices in your own loft. You don't have to do everything at once. In fact, it's better to make gradual changes that you can sustain over time rather than dramatic changes that you might not be able to maintain. Pick 1 or 2 areas that resonate with you and start there. Maybe it's improving the ventilation in your loft, or adding fresh herbs to your bird's routine, or simply spending more quiet observation time with your birds each day. Whatever you choose, be consistent with it and pay attention to how your birds respond. Small improvements in daily management practices compound over time into significant improvements in overall health and performance. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with natural immune support in your loft. What practices have worked well for you? What challenges have you faced? What questions do you have about implementing these approaches? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. This community of dedicated fanciers is one of the most valuable resources we have for learning and improving our bird care. If you found this video helpful, I'd be grateful if you'd give a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. We're building a community of pigeon enthusiasts who are committed to the highest standards of bird care, and your participation helps us reach more people who share our passion for these incredible birds. Also, please consider sharing this video with other pigeon fanciers in your area or online communities. The more we can spread knowledge about natural, holistic approaches to pigeon health, the better care our birds will receive across the entire sport. We're all in this together, working toward the same goal of healthy, happy, successful pigeons. Remember, building strong immunity in your birds is not a destination, but a journey. It's about creating sustainable daily practices that support your bird's natural health and resilience over the long term. Every small step you take in this direction makes a difference, and the cumulative effect of consistent, caring management is truly remarkable. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about your birds the way you do, and thank you for being part of this wonderful community of pigeon enthusiasts. Until next time, keep those birds healthy and happy, and keep that passion for our sport burning bright. I'll see you in the next video.